Brave Hearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters. Hey, hey, it's nice to see you again. Couple announcements before we get into this. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Let me just say that. Let me see if you can hear this. We're going to rock out today. Couple things before we get started. Let me see where we at. Yeah. Oh, no. Hey. All right. I'm all right. It's about you. Let's get to this. Um, just give me just a moment. Okay. Um, First and foremost, my daughter, who is the CEO, the official CEO of, let me see, Blue Dreams Cosmetics. Can you see that? We're gonna get ready to go to her site in a minute just so you can take a real look at what I'm talking about. But if you or you know someone who wears lip gloss and you know that they like their lip gloss to be popping, she formulates her own. Can you see that goodness? Can you see the goodness? This one here is spice. I've been wearing this out. When I say it smells like the bliss of autumn, that's what I have on right now with some liner. And it is so velvety and beautiful. Treat your woman, your girl, your daughter, your niece, your stepdaughter, your cousin. Treat her to some of this goodness. I'm for real. Like, and this one here smells like a great now later. Oh my gosh. And if I'm not mistaken, this one has this has true hemp oil in it, as well as some other essential oils. When I say it's velvety, I really wish, yeah, treat your girl to some of this. Cause this here, yeah. So let's see if I can share my screen so you can see where to go to get this loveliness. Okay, so welcome to Blue Dreams. Is it .us? Yes. So it's BLUDREAMZ.US. And let me see if I can Let me see if I can, this one. Is this here, honey. This is what I have on right now. And OMG. Let me tell you something. And it really is everything that she says it is right here. It smells like pumpkin spice. If you know anything about harvest season and fireplaces and falling leaves and homemade pumpkin seeds and ah, honey, she captured it. She really did. She captured it to the point where I am so fucking proud. So pucking. Ah, pumpkin and spice is all fucking nice. Yes, 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 yes. So, yeah, get you some of this in your life if you one of my lady leaders. And if you are not, but you have a lady leader in your life, and the elements outside are about to be cruel to the melanated lips, yeah, get her some of this goodness. No doubt. Get her some of this goodness. Yes, this is the one. So this is this one. That's what this one is. And yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, 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 yep. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, is what it is. So I just wanted to shout that out so that you all could hit my baby girl up as the gift giving season gets underway. So let's see. Okay, so so delightful. All right, we have quite a bit. I think I said that already. We got things to catch up on. The Mystic Fools Shiro Heroes Journey journaling set, which comes with a journaling guidebook created by yours truly, as well as the oracle cards created by yours truly, is pretty much rolling along in a delightful manner. Now, I had a hiccup where I was not suffering, but I was suffering. I think I made it worse than it needed to be. I was suffering from this massive writer's block, but I think that's because a lot of other things were coming through and I had to pay attention to those things. If I was to rate myself, I think I did pretty well. I think I maybe could have done better, less worry, more warrior, more warrior in the garden type energy probably would have done me better, but I didn't like just completely fuck off the opportunity to tune in and walk my valleys and speak with my shadows, commune with my shadows. Hear what they had to say, pull my notebook out, my journal, took notes down, um, and began to rearrange how I figure I'm going to migrate through this winter season. Um, so the prototype for the deck is done. And I have been charging them with my energy. The best thing to do when you get a new Oracle deck, new Tarot deck, or even if you just get a new deck of playing cards, but you refer to them in terms of cartomancy, which means you know the face of the cards to be of a metaphorical, metaphysical. You read them in those natures. You read them as messages from the non-physical world. We didn't even do a sound check. Let's do a sound check because some reason It always seems to not act right when I don't. Let's see. Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. So, especially over the full moon, doing so Friday, Saturday, really Friday and Saturday. Yesterday was honestly a rest day for me because I had expounded. When I say I went into hermit mode, now remember, I'm Virgo moon, Virgo ascending. I have double Virgo, double Mercury. Moon is in my first house. So when I go into hermit mode, yeah, it's an event. So much so to the point where I caught my dad in the kitchen. I was getting coffee, and he said, so my long lost daughter emerges from the bedroom. I was like, oh, you got jokes. Yeah, and we ain't seen you in a couple of days. Are you okay? You sure? He had to cover up my back. He's like, you sure you okay? But what was happening inside the bedroom was of such a non-conventional nature. This was coming to life. This deck was coming to life. The journaling guidebook was coming to life. Bits and pieces of what I like to now call the bigger narrative. They were getting fit in place. And characters were revealing themselves to me. And so there was just so much that was taking place. And seeing as that I can't be physically in two places at once, this is where I was, baby. And oh, what a delight. So, this here card right here, as many times as I've shuffled it over the last couple of days, this is what continues to pop up. And when it popped up this morning, I was like, you know what? I gotta get up here and just do a soft promotion about this deck that will, if all goes well, will be made available close to the brink of 2021. So this is sponsor story, right? And so I figured this would be a good opportunity to talk about my movement around building bridges that patchwork a more realistic narrative for my people that I am now calling the American melanated. To me, personally, whoa, the African American label does not fit it. It doesn't fit it. And here's the main reason why, to me, it doesn't fit it. Because we are the only cultural denomination on American soil where a little bit of everybody exists within us. Yeah. You want to talk about a diversified portfolio of DNA? So, to be in such an eclectic category, and for generations, the only word that can describe us when others are speaking about us is exotic. That used to be code word for those of African descent that were born in such a mixing bowl where no matter what it is that they mix with, you can still sense their melanated value, whether it's in the tone of their voice, the shade of their skin, the shades of their personality, the shades of their rhythm, their flow, their creativity. And it always seems to have this personification of the thing I like to call divine chaos. That thing that America really like prides itself in keeping suppressed because it knows that the moment the real stories, not the fabricated, scripted news bullshit that they like to call news, but when the real stories begin to permeate that space, when they begin to channel through that grapevine, they become instant influence and inspiration. It's a non physical agreement amongst energy. And the more we know, the more we show. And when I say show, I'm talking about the melanated value of just being, not needing to fit a label, a script, a category, just being and being okay with that and not allowing any other entity, foreign or otherwise, tell you different. So, sponsoring a story means that it's either your story or you stand as support in someone that you hold dear in telling their story with no judgment. Why? Because your lens is different from their lens, who's different from their lens is different from their lens. And we are literally pulling the stitches out of the motif that says that there is only one or two leaders with one or two options and everything else is to be dismissed. So here's the deal. In a different recording, I have not recorded them yet, but in a different recording, there's a new set of tarot and oracle cards inside of each journal. And so it will be session 2. Session 1 has already been posted, 4 hours long. I actually have addendums to that session, but I think I'm going to just allow that, my afterthoughts, to just be for my clients that I work with. Because I am now at a point where more and more each day, it's telling me that I have served my quota with putting complimentary content on social media or just populating the virtual world with my complimentary content. It's not free content. It's not free. It's complimentary, and there is a difference. I honestly post them and share them and share my discoveries as a result of compliment. Mainly because my inner dialogue was telling me that that was a prerequisite for the next moves that I am about to make, that I paid it forward up front prior to any commissions or dividends or proceeds. And the documented hours put in can be logged easily, as well as the gracious and the overwhelming amount of written content that's on both of my blogs, which is one is on behalf of the story.blogspot.com, and the other one is North Star Narratives blogspot.com. Both of them are heavily populated um, with personal and professional content through my firsthand researches and developments. So I've been pretty gracious with what it is that could serve as supporting evidence of what I'm about, what I have to offer, and what I'm willing to offer. So with all of that said, I will go ahead and produce and provide the session around the cards that are housed in these journals. And they are to serve, which as they've served for me, um, provocateurs to what it is that you can explore in support of your self-discovery. The power to define is beginning to be more trickier than ever. Why? Because the melanated mindset can no longer be contained with propaganda and political shenanigans, political ploys. Even if you did go vote, you still know that there is a due diligence to digging into that thing called policy, or honestly, your vote don't count. And you can, like, honestly continue to maneuver this world thinking it does, or you can get down and dirty and understand what this political class work is all about. You can tap into the historical values of how they've been doing it. Remember, we're Sankofa bound, whether you want to acknowledge that or not. The investigation continues, even if it's an inward investigation, meaning you only moving according to your intuitive hits, which honestly is my ultimate suggestion. If you were to have me stand as your coach Mad Hatter, the alpha coach Mad Hatter, I'm going to immediately tell anyone and everyone at any time, anywhere, you follow the intuitive hit that dwells within. You confer with your inner counsel first, and then you see how it unfolds in your physical spaces. So before I get to preaching, because you know I'll do it. You know I'll do it. So let's share the screen one, maybe two more times. Let's see what we can do. So, and I'm really hoping that this block up here isn't like, hang on, let me just, because it gets kind of tricky. And I usually don't know it until after I'm looking at the review in the playback. So let's see what we can do. Okay. So there is no secret that I am producing a journal-based script around the powers and the resurrection of the original Kundalini people, which was planted into my curiosity by sitting in a recorded lecture. Was not sitting in the actual lecture. Didn't tap into the lecture till years later, with Brother Bobby Hibbett. And when Brother Bobby Hibbett spoke about us being the original Kundalini people, it sparked me. It sparked me, and I took it and ran with it. And I really, at that time, didn't even know why. I even had to question, like, why is this tugging on me so heavily? Why is this pulling on me? But the more and more I leaned into it and allowed and took its hand, like it was almost as if that concept reached out and said, take my hand and let me show you some things. And me being a, or me identifying through my birth chart of what's called a manifesting generator, with its good and its bad, or should I say its light and its shadow sides. I'm a coin with two sides. I'm probably a multiplex, very complex creature I am. But here's one of the major components around the existential values of being an original Kundalini person, a person of original Kundalini power, the power to define, the power and the emotional sovereignty of being able to say what's sexually conducive to you. Not what America says is, or not what historical cultural denominations have said. No, what it means to you. And denying all judgment to take effect otherwise. What does it mean to you? So, this morning when I got up, I got the notion to just do a soft search on what's out there regarding this concept. Because as I've said in multiple other recordings, what something may mean to me can honestly mean the total opposite to you. And without us having that safe space to gain the understanding that what I am saying is also what you're hearing. There was a time when I was so obsessed with the catchphrase, just so we clear. I said I was going to get it on a t-shirt, just so we're clear. Because that's what honestly moves things along. That mutual understanding. I ain't talking about agreement or disagreement. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the bare fundamentals of what I am saying you are seeing. Sex means different things to a myriad of different people. And you honestly don't need my word for it. Life unfolds in the most mysterious ways, and most often, some type of sensual, insatiable context is somewhere in there. Somewhere in there. Now, to go a little deeper with regards to where I am coming from, because I've taken up the commitment to stay the course regarding what I mean and where I'm coming from when I talk about creating a script around the evolutionary healing of sexology. The logical concepts around an highly energetic emotional phenomenon. That which could stand alone within one's life outside of political science and social criticism. Imagine if those things didn't exist around your axiology and freedom with your sexuality. And I'm not talking gender specifics here. I hardly ever do. And I've mentioned that several times as well. Why? because, in my opinion, the majority of a sensual sexual encounter is non-physical, and it happens with the presence of combinations or cocktails of energy, non-physical. In the mind and the heart, non-physical. So gender is physical specific. So in life, and for the sake of true self-discovery, getting clear with that which arouses, excites, appreciates in terms of affection, affirmation, confirmation, in all sorts of situations and circumstances. To me, that primal element of one's existence honestly is a private ordeal. It's private. How we seem to be okay with allowing social bullies to bring that in the forefront, or even us figuring like we have to wear our sexuality on our sleeve. And I know most often that's done just to make folks back the fuck up. And here's my take on it. If you're not going to put yours on a bulletin board, back it up with trying to put mine on a bulletin board. And that's just fair. My black moon and Lilith, my black moon Lilith, I always want to say that as if my black moon could be somewhere else, not Lilith, but somewhere else. I digress. My black moon Lilith, my true black moon Lilith, is in Libra. So that weighing the scales around what is appropriate for the individual, as if the collective have some type of authority over that. And getting out of this sense of implied consent. And as long as we, and when I say we, I'm talking about the individual across the board. As long as we do not get shit clear, just so we're clear, we don't clear up these things. And this thing called implied consent can shake his ass all over the place without being checked. There's no checks and balances around here anymore. We become very, very comfortable in generalizations instead of understanding that each and every person we meet is a standalone, highly unique occurrence. And that this person you meet is not going to be nowhere close to this person you meet or this person you meet, nor will the reactions and the alchemical components upon the acquaintance by which the acquaintance exists. What went down in this instance with this person is not going to go down, even if there are similar factors present. There's still going to be these oddities, these angles that situated to stand alone. It's going to situate it to be a unique occurrence. And I use this analogy a lot because it's one of the ones that has showed me the most magic when dealing with especially romantic partners or sensual components or things of that nature. I always approach it with the other individual in mind and how they impact me personally. And I pay close attention to the nuance of the acquaintance. And the incredible part about that is I couldn't turn it off even if I wanted to. I've tried several times and ended up making it worse because it feels like most often part of my destined path here is to have a diversified view on human behavior around that which is authentically pleasurable, authentically expressive. Remember, Virgo moon, Virgo ascending, how these things are communicated, how they show up in masks or in its raw form, in its raw primal form. How does it show up? And so, with that, it's a given that men who approach me, that's my, and I can only go from it even get tricky with that. I can only go from that element because that's my preference. So, and American melanated is truly my preference. So when men show up, however we cross paths, whatever the acquaintance, when they make it known about either their interests to court or even their interests to romp around casually, whatever have you, I notice what they lead with and how they lead, what is part of the conversation. Now, is there a certain formula to open it up, that which is called me? Yes, but there's no standard formula. And I know, like I said, I'm a complex creature. So it really does depend on the individual and the individual's alchemical influences on me. That means it's the tone of voice, it's the structuring of the words, it's the presence of some words and the absence of other words. And either it fits or it doesn't. Because I am a highly analytical creature, I honestly go by what I feel. So it is truly determined. The combination is determined. The formula is determined according to the chords that play when we are engaging, energetically or otherwise. And it's interesting that I would even say it that way because I have a mandate inside of my non physical spaces that only those that have, how can I say this? Let me say it like this. The mandate is if they do not jive, vibe, or coordinate energetically, then they can't even get in my space. Meaning that I don't even think about them. Like they don't pop up in my space. With that in place, it makes it even more special when certain people pop up in my space. Because for one, I know they have clearance because they up in here, they up in my space. There are some that have a VIP pass. Not only can they walk up in my space energetically, but they can take up residence in my mind or my heart, or they can travel to and fro. But that's a very, very, very condensed crew. Only a few. Can't many do that. Can't many literally pop up into my head, not leave, and like have the power that I can't think about nothing else. And I've situated it that way. I have made firm intentions, because I know that the name of the game in this third dimension is called propaganda and distraction. If the mind is distracted, the heart is weary. And I know that firsthand. There have been times when certain people will enter my energetic space and I'll acknowledge, be like, oh, hey, what's going on? Woo, woo, woo. Energetically, in my thoughts, there's an inner dialogue going on with me and whomever it is that has popped up in my space. Sometimes or depending on what I'm doing, I have to like energetically put them to the side so that I can continue focusing. There have been times when certain folks will just be there. And it's just like, pay attention to me. I need you. Woo, woo, woo. Sometimes I will connect with that person on a physical level, like, hey, what's the deal? You in my space. Something going on. We need to talk, whatever, whatever. There's even been times when someone will pop up in my space and I will try to ignore it. Well, yeah, ignore it. Just straight out ignore it. Like, not right now. I'm trying to write. I'm on a roll. I'm in a whatever. I'm trying to handle this. I'm thinking about this. I'm in conversation with this, whatever. And it still will stop me dead in my tracks and say, no, pay attention right now. Call this person right now. Reach out right now. And hardly ever when that happens and I follow through on that, I always hardly ever is it not something that was like, you know what? I'm glad I chimed in. I'm glad I called. I'm glad I sent that text. I'm glad. And I know, well, I don't know, but I get the feeling that it might be now say, okay, well, what does this have to do with sex? Everything. Everything. Especially to the American melanated. Because we have yet to, on a collective level, understand how the traumatic energy that still surrounds sex is directly connected to us being the breeding primary component for America's population of human resource. Because the only way to get other humans here is through sex. I mean, yeah, they implant and current on, but that wasn't the way that it was um, in the chattel era. When they got wind that they had the audacity and the capacity to replicate melanated beings, when there were no permissions of entering into her space, and there was no courtesy of regular checkups and condoms and none of that, pleasantries and none of that, none of that, and preference. Let's be real with this shit. There was no choice and preference on who entered into her space with no fucking manners, mind you. And we still, as a collective, have yet to reconcile that energy with no shame present. On the road of this cyclical, I always get that word, I always mangle that word up. The full circle, and I keep you wanting to say it too. I'm gonna get it one day. The full circle travels inward of the hero shero's journey, the individuation process that Jung has been calling or has coined it as. That journey into self-discovery that has various levels, various successive levels, right? So you travel your freshman journey, and those are the people that I'm mainly talking to right now. The ones that have traveled their first loop, maybe their second loop, um, and have returned with a variation of life's elixir. And the life elixir is totally defined on your unique being. So my life's elixir is not going to be the same. The chemistry and the alchemical components is not going to be the same as yours. We might be traveling for the ultimate thing called self-discovery, but me discovering myself is totally different from you discovering yourself. Now, what we can do is exchange elixirs, but we will never, ever, ever do any good with comparing elixirs. As many sharks that are in the sea, as many variations of octopus that's in the sea, and that we're just talking the sea, all the sea creatures and all the different, the diversification of coral and rocks and sand and water, all the different species of butterflies and birds and bees and honey and plants, elephants, lions, tigers, bears. You honestly cannot compare a brown bear to a black bear to a white bear. You just can't do it. The essence of their chemistry, regardless of what they look like on the outside. There's a lot of non-physical functionality that hardly ever is considered when we get to comparing shit. Sexuality is another one of those existential components that we honestly need to get out of trying to compare and judge through these mundane, non-magical views, these lenses that are muggled. So, with all of that said, I have, let's do this. I have um, began to situate the structure of story that will go around um, the different journal submissions, which will end up being the basis, the let me just, I have to continue to call it the greater narrative, because a little bit of it will go towards the anthology, which will be the long-standing um, script that will house, it's where the different journaling aspects will be plugged in, but then also it serves as the resource for the documentary projects that are ensuing. So at the end of the day, if you are familiar with the project, the Vampire Diaries or the Notebook, and those are my two go-tos right now because they do specifically intertwine uh, the reaccounts of an individual that spills into a greater narrative that sits with its own um, main ideas and main concepts And then is these breakouts of concepts that still ultimately plug back into the greater narrative. And it is all chronicle based. So yesterday, while I was in the midst of R&R, what was I doing still? Tapping into story. Tapping into story. Two of my findings. And I say tapping into story because like for the last 2 weeks, I have been putting out the intuitive hit for the engagement of great story. Was just putting it out there just into the ether, like bring me a good story, bring me a good story. I want to feel that which I feel when I am introduced to a great story. And it lights me up, and it seems to graduate my curiosity into other places, whether I'm afraid of it or not. And I've just been learning to, as long as I got my pen, I'll travel. As long as I got my pen, aka my sword, I'll travel. And I will travel into the shadows. I'm not afraid. Which brings me to the Frankenstein Chronicles, honey, on Netflix. Yeah, yesterday was a Netflix day. So I tapped into the Frankenstein Chronicles, and I also watched the entire uh, first series in one setting of, well, I think it's a limited series. The Queen's Gambit, about the lady chess player. Ah! Now, a story doing something when it can bring me to tears. And by the time the end of that series was over, honey, I was feeling pride. I was feeling contentment. I was feeling my the essence of my female warrior was almost giving standing ovation to this series because, honey, that girl went through some things, as well as those that were around her in regards to self-discovery and self-commitment and self-actualization, and just having the courage to seek that which you know in your heart you desire. Win, lose, or draw, because it's in your heart and you want it doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you got the courage to go after it, meaning you giving yourself a 50-50 chance. And just knowing it's going to be a yay or a nay. It's going to be a kiss it or a diss it. Either way, I got to find out what it is. And she was obsessed with chess. Chess made her life make sense. And who can argue with that? But it was no easy road. It was almost like chess was saying, you want me? Really? Then come get me. You want to work for me. You want to prove to me you love me. And I'm going to take you through some shit because I do not entertain the weaklings. So if you're going to bow out, good for you. Go where you belong. Don't waste my fucking time. That's what it felt like chess was saying to her. Like, I'm going to take you through all of this. But if you stick with it, you're going to waver. So don't judge it. Don't judge it in terms of right or wrong, because then you're going to tap out. No, you just have to judge it in terms of, this is the journey to be with me. And I'm going to show up in good light and I'm going to show up in shadow. And you're not going to judge either one of it. You're just going to know I'm showing up. You're going to meet some people. You're going to get along with some people. You're going to oppose some people. And it was just incredible. It was so incredible. So incredible on so many levels, personally and professionally. So I think that a portion of my mission, especially around me building bridges for the greater narrative, it has a lot to do with how one feels about itself. Is it constantly hounding itself for all the mistakes that it's made, completely ignoring that some things were meant to happen and they were never promising a good outcome or good turnout? Because usually our greatest growth is down in the soil, deep, deep down in the darkness. That's where the beginning stages of growth emerges. That acorn before it became a sequoia, honey, had to go deep, deep, deep into the soil. And it had to stay in the balance of being nurtured by the moonlight and the sunlight. And it had to learn how to maneuver in the dark. Everybody want to turn on a light. Oh, wait a minute. Can't move, turn on a light. We're in all this darkness. Hurry up and turn on a light. Versus, you know what? Let me make sure my feet are protected and I'm going to feel my way through this. It's no secret either that we live in a male dominated society. That's the way this was built. Ain't no need and keep ignoring this. Ah, I knew it. Okay. Oh, I'm glad this came back to my mind. Okay. Had a conversation last night with one of my most greatest people. I met him in 2013. I was on a project with one of my community moms. There was a time when I would go, I have a I have a true love for Ward 8 DC. A lot of my people are there, a lot of my roots. So there was a time right at the brink of 2012 into 2013 where I was helping with paperwork for some of my elderly community moms. So when they needed repairs on their house or whatever it is that they needed, if they had to go deal with the municipalities, I would transport them. I would attend these meetings with them, these workshops with them, and just take notes and just do my due diligence as a researcher and a developer within the community on some things that they needed to get done. Because sometimes these folks would have my moms on the phone 20 hours on hold and, trying to correspond in letter writing, and that just wasn't a skill. So we would do certain uh, deals where, and because a lot of them were on fixed incomes, it was more so like fix me dinner or, crochet me a blanket, those kind of things. It was me rekindling this thing called the barter system, mainly because I knew that with my office skills and my professional level, if I were to charge them with regards to monetary gain, they would have never been able to afford me, but they honestly needed certain things done. There were programs that they needed an interpreter. It was the world was just beginning to move so fast for them. And you got these young folks who are now moderating these courses or facilitating these workshops, and they moving and they shaking, and it's just like, well, what did she just say? So I would attend with them. Okay, so Mama Ford. Oh, I haven't talked to Mama Ford in a while, but Mama Ford, a Taurus, honey, firecracker, probably was about 4 feet tall, and she had these eyes that would penetrate your soul. So she called me up. She said, Thea, honey, listen, I need to get an estimate because I'm trying to refinance this house. And I just need you to tap into the world out there and find me somebody who can come and give me an estimate and not, not play around with me or try to take me for granted or whatever. Just come and do what we asked them to do. And, because you got that bulldog mentality, I just need you to make sure everybody play right. So I get my numbers so I can submit my numbers to these folks so we get this done on it. So I go to Angie's List and I do my search. And so several popped up that were in the area that were offering free estimates and that could do, within a day or two turnaround with getting out to the site and producing us with what we needed. Met with a couple of builders. They submitted. Wasn't really wasn't satisfied. So I was the type, especially back then, where I would have a list to back up my list. So went to list B, started calling out. There was one builder that was able to get out to the site within a couple days. Made an appointment. He came out, and it was wild because even just in our conversation yesterday, it was something. The moment we shook hands, it was something. And I'm not exactly sure, not like of like this major romantic thing, but it was just something. You could tell the energy transferred in the shaking of our hand. And he even said it last night. He was like, yeah, same thing happened with me. I wasn't sure exactly what was going on, but I knew you was something different. I knew you wasn't, just like the regular somebody. So from that moment on, we've been checking in with each other periodically, make sure the family's all right, and that kind of thing. He said something to me last night that struck a chord in me. For one, being in awe with how he relates to pain. Now, it's not abnormal for me to be amongst Black men who are not into taking these synthetic medications, and they don't really do pain pills, and they're not really into the man-made offerings to this thing that they like to call healthcare. But he had spinal surgery not too long ago, very rare, um, to the point where it shook the medical community, and so they are they are tapping into his story as a official case study. How this is how rare what he underwent was. By the time he got to rehabilitation, he was not taking any pain medication. Major spinal surgery. He ain't taking no medication, no pain medication. And he says something to me. He says, how is it that I am supposed to be able to gauge my recovery if I can't feel my pain? How is it that I am supposed to heal if and now I'm paraphrasing, where it's like, how do I know where to send my intention for healing if my pain is being masked? And he said it just like this. He said, give me all my pain so I'll know. I'll know where my work, I'll know where, yeah. I giggle at him all the time and say that he's army strong, and that chime in just as confirmation. He army strong, like, and the fact that he built gorgeous houses from the ground up, yeah. But even metaphorically, that's saying something all in itself, because it takes something to build something from the ground up. The building takes place before you even lay the foundation, because you need architectural blueprints. You need to know how to structure this thing. Of course, I went on a tangent. Okay, I digress. Traveling inward, whether you're tapping into your lightness or your darkness. For one, it's mandatory. For two, regardless of which elixir you return with, whether it's an elixir that will adhere to your lightness or your darkness, or a mixture of both. Remember, the alchemical process is all about you being able to adequately infuse your light side and your dark side. And with that type of feat, with that type of great commission, you cannot have judgment. about your pain. So, all of that to say, what if every single thing, your stays at Heartbreak Hotel or your stays gliding through the heavens, were all destined to be, because from both sides, there is an evolutionary you waiting. And that if you take more light than dark or vice versa, you will be rendered a lopsided view of you. And the balanced view of you is what's needed. That's what the hero sheroes, especially the mystic fool's journey, is all about. Going a step further, doing yourself a favor by journalizing. Is that a word? I think that's a word. By journaling your account, by chronicling your instances, your experiences, your encounters, your acquaintances. Not only does it preserve your life in the pages, but it gives you wonderful, raw, firsthand data of the narratives that are historically relevant. Everybody's story matter, especially the unfolding of it inside of these times. I've been saying 2 years before 2020 that there was a new energy immersion that was going to be so divinely chaotic that it was going to require us to get with us. And that the stories that you tell yourself around yourself is what's going to be the most enriching to your evolution. My North Node is in Aquarius. I'm evolutionary bound. I can't speak no other language. Not interested either, for the record. And so, yeah, sometimes I show up and I'm a bit much for folks to take. I get it. But you still have a home room. You have a home room inside of your metaphorical story house. And it's important that you dig into that, tap into that, turn that on. Turn that on. So, inside of book 6, the Harry Potter series, the Half Blood Prince. And I really think that anyone who is thinking about taking up script with us at Storyhouse will know that it really is about the multi-blood prince and princess. That signature type formula. That only a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah, that type of cocktail of DNA. That was the only ones that was really going to be able to see this multi-view that was needed. There's a new narrative afoot. Trust me when I tell you this. And I guarantee you, by birthright, you already have a pen. Use it. Use it. So Professor Dumbledore says, "You've been reckless this summer, Harry." And he says it's sort of like that too. And what Harry say? "I like riding around on trains." Anytime that I metaphorically think about that, it makes me think of all the trains of thought that go whizzing in and out of my head and permeating and doing what it do, be dropping off stuff and be picking up other stuff. My Grand Central Station, 24/7, open 24/7. Sometimes I come back into consciousness with a conversation already in session. I think I've said that before. Be like, oh, okay, hold on, let me catch up. What y'all talking about? What we talk about today? What's on the agenda of conceptual agreements are we indulging in today? Sometimes I just don't feel like it. Like, will y'all shut the fuck up? Like, let me get some rest. I need some sleep. I'm tired. And sometimes I will drift off to sleep with a conversation in session. So I'm thinking in the following weeks, I am going to be elaborating on a portion of the greater narrative that I've been working on that has a lot to do with one, two, three, four major characters inside of this script. Now, to sign on and actually take on the assignment of a character, where um, your journal entries will be linked to a character that's already inside of the greater narrative, meaning that you your first hand chroniclings will bring this character to life. Because it is situated inside of a mystical academy, that means that you will either be faculty, scholar, administrator, co-founder, committee, but it's not the scene of conventional university. It's beyond that. It has portals and tunnels and all sorts of energetic frequencies where shapeshifters can, the magicians. Are you familiar with the Netflix series The Magicians? There it is. I like to think of Hogwarts and Ilvermorny, or even the Academy with Professor X and the X-Men. But honestly, I want to say um, the shenanigans that go on at the Academy inside of the Netflix series The Magicians, like that, where a shapeshifter literally can just appear in its seat in class while class is going on, and nobody thinks the wiser why, because they ain't freaked out about it, because they already familiar about this world and how you can manifest or not, or dematerialize in an instant. And it's not that much of a foreign language to the original Kundalini people. Why? Because they are rekindling their love affair with their native tongue. So, um, I think that's pretty much it for now. I just I just wanted to get up here and unload for a moment and let you know some things that are right now on the burner, those that are coming down the pike, and things like that. Um, the invitation still stands for anyone who is interested in finding out more about a casting slot that will co-join them with a character. Um, we now have over 80 characters, 80 main characters. And so all of the characters, even if they do not already have scenes in the bigger narrative, they have already been placed, meaning that a character has already been identified, whether it's faculty or student or sponsor or that kind of thing. And the way that I've been doing it here lately is just in natural conversation. When my intuitive hits say, extend them the offer, um, for their essence to bring a certain character to life, it's becoming to materialize in a twofold. Either it's someone who actively writes, which means they take up the call to populate a journal that could somehow find its way into the essence of that character, or it's something that I'm already writing and including it part of the greater narrative. And so just my essence of knowing them will bring that character to life. And so the collaborations with how this narrative will become to be its greatest is the unknown for me. I'm leaving that up to the numinous. That part belongs to the numinous. My part is to speak about my progressions and keep the invitations open. That's it. And inside this human experience, we are due some balance, some harmony, some equilibrium around sovereign emotions and intelligence, separately and collectively. We do that. And most often, if we're going to use Hollywood as an example, if we dare to use Hollywood as an example, one thing that the founders of Hollywood knew without a shadow of a doubt was that how they perceived themselves mattered. Now, them bumping into the fortunes of understanding that how others perceive them was even a greater matter of fact. They changed the whole game when they put that pen in their hand. Started slaying everything, everything, everything. So I'll end it there, and I'll say that somewhere on northstarnarratives.blogspot.com is a way to get in touch with me. And I invite you, I encourage you to do so, even if you just have questions. I am now open for remote presentations. And so to book a presentation is pretty much like what happened right now in this session, but we'll go a little deeper where I will customize to your inquiry around narrative and journaling and the full circle traveling inward for the sole purpose of self-discovery and the trajectories around individuation and what that may mean for you. So yeah, be on the lookout for these oracle. Look at that. Okay, so and I've been shuffling while I was talking. It's just something I have a habit of doing now. It's let's see if the screen will capture before we get on out of here. So, and this is where it starts. Door one, your first meeting, door one is with the magician. Why? Because it's very important when you're on this journey to self-discovery that you understand what your magic is. And I can't tell you what your magic is. I can only be there for when you have questions while you are identifying it, seeking it, and not losing faith that you will get it if you seek it. If you seek it, it'll seek you. So, thanks for hanging with me. It's been a true delight. I am going to see if I have the energy to tap into this journal reading today. If so, that'll be uploaded later on today. If not, maybe closer to the end of the week because there is a story that's unfolding with regards to that immaculate conversation that I had with my builder last night to the point where I assigned him a character, but I'll write because he's not a writer, he's a builder. So yeah, first thing this morning, the unfolding of that portion of the greater narrative just began to speak to me. And I'm excited and I want to get to that. So if the reading doesn't come out today, be on the lookout for it closer to the end of the week. And so yeah, thanks for joining me and I wish you well.